If your mornings look like a battle, your child is melting down, refusing to get dressed, and you are repeating yourself 10 times before 8 a.m. This video is for you. What I am going to share today is not a discipline strategy. It is not about being stricter or more consistent with consequences. It is something that changed everything for my family, and for parents and caregivers of children with autism that I have worked with. It is called a visual routine, and I am going to walk you through 5 signs that your child needs one right now. Stay until the end. I will show you exactly how to set one up, without spending hours designing it yourself. First, let me quickly explain what a visual routine actually is. A visual routine is a sequence of pictures or written steps that shows your child what is happening, in what order, and what comes next. Instead of relying on your child to hold verbal instructions in their working memory, which is genuinely hard for many autistic children, the routine does that work for them. It is always there. It is consistent. And it removes the need for you to repeat yourself constantly. Think of it as giving your child a map for their day. One they can read on their own, at any time, without needing you to narrate every step. Now let us get into the 5 signs. Sign 1. Transitions trigger meltdowns every single day. Does your child fall apart when it is time to stop one activity and start another? Whether it is leaving the playground, turning off the television, or stopping a game, the switch triggers an outsized reaction that leaves everyone drained. This almost always comes down to unpredictability. When a child cannot mentally prepare for what is coming, the switch feels sudden and threatening. Their nervous system is not being dramatic. It is responding to a genuine sense of loss of control. Most parents try verbal warnings, 5 more minutes, we are leaving soon. And those warnings are well-intentioned. But for many autistic children, verbal warnings in the moment do not create the mental preparation we hope for. The transition still arrives as a shock. A visual routine solves this because the child can look ahead on their own. They can see that after dinner comes bath, and after bath comes pajamas. The sequence is always visible. No surprises means far fewer meltdowns, and far less stress for everyone in the house. Sign 2. You repeat yourself more than 10 times before any task is done. If you have said, "Go put your shoes on," 4 times and your child is still standing in the hallway staring at the wall, this is not defiance. This is not your child ignoring you on purpose. Many autistic children genuinely struggle to hold a verbal instruction long enough to act on it, especially when there is other sensory input competing for their attention. By the time they get to the hallway, the instruction has already faded. So they stand there, not because they are being difficult, but because the information is simply gone. The exhausting cycle of repeating yourself is not a parenting failure. It is a signal that verbal instructions alone are not the right tool for your child's brain. And once you understand that, the solution becomes obvious. A visual routine replaces your repeated instructions with something your child can reference on their own. The routine becomes the authority, not you. That shift alone removes an enormous amount of daily conflict, and it gives your child the independence to move forward without waiting for your next prompt. Sign 3. Anxiety spikes whenever plans change. The swimming lesson gets cancelled. You take a different route home. Dad is not home for dinner tonight. For neurotypical children, these are minor inconveniences. For autistic children, they can trigger genuine anxiety or distress, because their sense of safety is deeply tied to knowing what comes next. This is not rigidity for the sake of it. It is a nervous system that has learned to find safety in predictability. When that predictability disappears, even briefly, the response can feel completely out of proportion to the situation. Children who use visual routines consistently often become more flexible over time, not less, because they have a reliable baseline to return to. The routine becomes their anchor. And when an anchor exists, small changes become far easier to absorb. Sign 4. Your child cannot start tasks independently. Does getting ready for school require you to physically be present for every single step? Does your child need you to prompt, guide, or supervise each action, even though they are fully capable of doing it on their own? This is very common, and it is not a sign that your child is lazy or too dependent on you. It is a sign that the internal structure, The mental map of what to do next is simply not there. Without that map, your child waits for the next instruction, because that is the only way they know how to move forward. A visual routine gives your child that map. Over time, many parents find their child moves through morning and bedtime routines with very little prompting at all. That independence builds genuine confidence, and it gives you back the time and energy you have been spending on constant supervision. When the routine is on the wall and your child can follow it themselves, you move from manager to encourager. That is a completely different relationship dynamic, and it feels better for both of you. Sign 5. You feel like you are managing your child rather than connecting with them. This one is for the parents. If you spend your entire day prompting, redirecting, managing meltdowns, and troubleshooting transitions, and at the end of the day you realize there was no moment where you simply enjoyed being with your child, that is a sign that something in the daily structure needs to change. It is not a reflection of your love. It is not a failure. It is what happens when the systems around your child are not working hard enough. So you have to work harder to compensate. Visual routines reduce the management load significantly. When your child knows what is happening, when conflict over transitions decreases, and when they begin to move more independently, you get to step out of the role of constant manager and back into the role of parent. That is not a small thing. That is the whole reason we do this work. So those are the 5 signs. If even 2 or 3 of them felt familiar, a visual routine is almost certainly going to help your family. I know what usually happens next. You think about setting one up. You imagine designing cards and building a board, and you get overwhelmed before you even start. That is exactly why I created the Visual Routine Toolkit. It is a done-for-you resource with ready-made routine cards for morning, evening, and school day transitions. You print them, you use them, no designing required. The link is in the description below. If you want something up in your home this week, that is the fastest way to get there. If this video helped you, please give it a like. It genuinely helps more parents find this content. And if you know a parent going through the same challenges, share it with them. I will see you in the next one.